What's up, crypto fam? Welcome back to my Kadena whiteboard mini-series. In this mini-series, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about the Kadena blockchain from a first principle standpoint using analogies and animated graphics. In today's video, we're going to talk about the Kadena Vortex. Now, most of you are probably thinking, what in the hell is a Kadena Vortex? And that's a great question, but it's going to take me about 10 minutes to fully explain it. So just in case you want to leave early, to sum it up, by 2030, Kadena is going to flip every single altcoin listed on CoinMarketCap's top 100 list. Yes, even Ethereum, Cardano, XRP, Polkadot, Solana, and maybe even Bitcoin. Comparing other layer 1 blockchains in the top 100 to Kadena would be like comparing MySpace to Facebook or eBay to Amazon. Better yet, Ethereum 2.0 is like a horse and carriage, and Kadena is like a SpaceX rocket ship. Really, no joke. Ethereum, Solana, Polkadot, Harmony, Phantom, and all other layer 1 blockchains are wrote in Turing-complete coding languages. They might still have a few years of juice left in them, but by 2030, they will be old, outdated relics, in my opinion. Kadena is without question the most advanced blockchain the world has ever seen. So, how does this relate to a vortex? Let me explain. When you talk about proof-of-work blockchains like Bitcoin, Ethereum 1.0, and Kadena, they all have one thing in common. They align incentives. This is something that no proof-of-stake blockchain can do. So you guys are going to have to stick with me because we're about to dive pretty deep down the rabbit hole and I need your full attention. When I say align incentives, think about it like this. If you owned a cell phone store, your goal at the phone store would be to sell cell phones, right? How could you incentivize your employees to sell more phones? Well, you could offer them commission for every phone they sell. The goal of your company is to sell cell phones and you make money. Now your employees' incentives align with yours because every time they sell a cell phone, they make more money. Think about it like a farmer who has a problem with deer eating all of his crops. Even if he doesn't like hunting, he might be incentivized to let somebody hunt on his property. He gets rid of the deer problem and the hunter gets to have a great location to hunt. Their incentives align. All right, now that you understand incentives and aligning incentives, how does that relate to a crypto vortex? First, I'm going to use Bitcoin as an example, and then I'm going to explain why Kadena has the only vortex in the world that could potentially overpower Bitcoins. The first thing I want you to imagine is a vortex-like tornado that surrounds the Bitcoin blockchain. The blockchain itself is the eye of the storm. The outer rings of the vortex become the incentive layers. The more incentives the blockchain aligns, the stronger the vortex effect becomes. Let me explain. So the first thing we need to do is we need to get out a clean sheet of paper and we are going to place Bitcoin in the center of the screen. And then we are going to draw a big circle around Bitcoin. This circle represents Bitcoin's vortex effect. So let's start with number 1, Bitcoin as a store of value. Since inception, Bitcoin has gained on average 170% per year. This makes holding Bitcoin long-term one of the most profitable investments you could have made in the last decade. So what this means is that anytime a new person starts investing in Bitcoin and they choose to use Bitcoin as their store of value, their incentives align with everyone else who's holding Bitcoin. Think about that for a second. Have you ever bought Bitcoin? How many of your friends and family members have you talked to about Bitcoin? How many coworkers have you talked with about Bitcoin? And how many people have you convinced to buy Bitcoin? And that's the vortex effect. Once you start understanding blockchain and you realize that cash is trash and you start saving in Bitcoin, you want to do everything in your power to protect your investment and help educate others on why Bitcoin is such a great investment. Now, before we jump into the vortex effect number 2, I need to give a big shout out to Robert Breedlove. The Bitcoin vortex effect and the skin in the game theory are both terms coined by Robert Breedlove. He is someone I have mad respect for, and I will leave links to his What is Money playlist down in the description. Back to Bitcoin's vortex. Number 2, the Bitcoin miners and the skin in the game theory. So in proof-of-work blockchains, miners are rewarded for securing the network. Most Bitcoin miners invest large amounts of capital to start mining Bitcoin. So what that means is that anytime a person or a group of people start mining Bitcoin, their incentives now align with the other miners. These miners are the ones who actually secure all of the hodlers' Bitcoin and keep it safe. So naturally, the miners' incentives align with the hodlers' incentives. Anytime the mainstream media tries to discredit Bitcoin or tries to make false claims that Bitcoin is bad for the environment, who do you think spends hundreds of thousands of dollars to have professional companies and research studies done to combat the fake news? Bitcoin miners and Bitcoin maxis. Why? Because when somebody attacks the Bitcoin network, they are attacking investors' livelihoods. So naturally, investors want to fight back. This is what strengthens the Vortex. And that leads us to number 3, which is the technology sector, aka mining equipment and hardware components. Yesterday, Bitcoin miners were rewarded with $20,257,589 worth of Bitcoin for securing the network. Because the rewards are so high, companies are willing to invest billions of dollars every year into buying new equipment to mine Bitcoin. So what does that mean? That means that in order to build a Bitcoin miner, someone has to produce the electronical equipment. Motherboards, cables, zip ties, and the infamous semiconductors and chipsets. Just think that the largest automotive manufacturers in the world were facing massive chip shortages and semiconductor shortages because so many people were buying Bitcoin mining equipment that these factories couldn't produce enough parts fast enough. So what that does is it aligns the incentives of the largest tech manufacturers in the world. Because Bitcoin drives so many sales, the tech giants love it. Bitcoin generates billions of dollars worth of sales volume every year. Therefore, Bitcoin is now aligning incentives with thousands of businesses all over the world that produce parts that are used to make Bitcoin mining equipment. I mean, we could really even take that a step farther. Just think about how much money UPS, FedEx, DHL, and other shipping companies make per year shipping Bitcoin mining equipment. You see, there is so much more than meets the eye. And that leads us to number 4, energy consumption. Now, this one's pretty obvious. Bitcoin miners are on the juice. They consume massive amounts of electricity. So obviously, energy companies love them. Bitcoin miners spend on average of $10 million per day on electricity. So what this does is it attracts the biggest players in the world with the deepest pockets, and that aligns their incentives with the entire Bitcoin community. Next on the list would be states, cities, and towns. For example, states like Arizona who have issues with their electrical grid because it's 120 degrees during the day and only 50 degrees at night, energy providers have to produce extra energy during the night just to make up for the daytime usage because storing energy is very expensive. Electric companies can now move in Bitcoin mining farms, give them a major discount on electricity so that they can run from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. when the demand for energy is less. This helps stabilize the grid. And because Bitcoin miners are getting a huge discount on electricity, they don't mind running for only 8 hours a day. Just think about that for a second. If you're the mayor of a town or the governor of a state facing major electrical grid issues, and magically Bitcoin comes along and saves the day, do you think that politician will end up being pro-Bitcoin? I think so. Number 6, governments. El Salvador printed their dollar into hyperinflation. Finally, the government realized that they couldn't keep repeating this cycle of reckless money printing. They knew that if they switched to another fiat currency like the US dollar, they would always be in fear that the US government would print so many dollars that the United States dollar would go into hyperinflation, and they would be screwed. This is why El Salvador became the first country to make Bitcoin legal tender. I think this is something that more countries would do, but unfortunately, when your country goes into hyperinflation, they have no money to buy Bitcoin. This is where other countries like the United States step in and offer them a nice big loan in US dollars, and they end up adopting the US dollar because in reality, they got no choice. And that leads us to number 7, politicians. Who controls politicians? Big business, big tech, and the electric companies. These are the billionaires who donate billions of dollars to help political figures run for office. So naturally, because Bitcoin makes them so much money, they start supporting politicians who are pro-crypto. And this is why we call it the Vortex effect. Anytime a country tries to ban Bitcoin, who suffers? The citizens of that country. Anytime a state in the USA tries to impose stupid laws that are anti-crypto, what happens? People leave that state and move to another state that is pro-crypto. Take a look at New York, for example. As a crypto investor and blockchain believer, the last state I would be interested in moving to would be New York. On the opposite side, you have Texas, and big shout out to Texas Senator Ted Cruz. They are trying to make Texas the crypto capital of the world, and I actually think that they're going to do it. Texas is also passing legislation that prevents the federal government from preventing people from owning crypto. I mean, take a look at Canada, for example. You can now only buy $30,000 worth of specific cryptos? Give me a break. You see, the Bitcoin Vortex is so powerful. If you try to stop it, it sucks you in and spits you out. When you start learning about Bitcoin, the Vortex sucks you in and you become addicted. So now that you have an idea of what I mean when I say proof of work blockchains align incentives, let's jump back over and talk about the Kadena Vortex. So let's build the Kadena Vortex together. Let's start with number 1 being dApps. What are dApps essentially? They are software as a business. They are layer 2 applications that are built on top of the layer 1. They use the layer 1 as the consensus layer, meaning that they use the Kadena blockchain to settle transactions. Think about it like Amazon. I personally used to have an Amazon business. Because my business ran on Amazon, I naturally wanted to see Amazon win. The more people that use Amazon, the higher probability it was that there was going to be somebody else's customer that would stumble upon my business and hopefully become my customer. The Kadena blockchain is the same way. Think about a DEX. When you first start using a decentralized exchange to swap and stake assets, after a while, you start learning more about DeFi and you naturally start investigating borrowing and lending protocols, bridges, fiat on-ramps, and the list goes on. The Kadena blockchain will begin to align the incentives of thousands of businesses on a global scale. I would go as far as saying Kadena is actually more like the internet versus Amazon. I mean, it's pretty freaking mind-blowing if you ask me. Check out my Kadena is the Amazon of crypto if you want to dive deeper down that rabbit hole. And next on the list would be number 2, miners. Just like Bitcoin, we covered that aspect. The one thing that's different about Bitcoin is the fact that 99.6% of all Bitcoin will be mined by 2040 versus Kadena, where 99.6% of Kadena won't be mined until 2140. So that means that people who start investing in Kadena mining farms can actually build a business that's going to last generations. Number 3, energy. Just like Bitcoin, Kadena consumes a lot of energy. But unlike Bitcoin, Kadena has the ability to incentivize miners to mine green and use renewable energy. I'll cover that topic in future videos, so definitely stay tuned and hit that subscribe button. Now, one major difference is the fact that 99.6% of all Bitcoin will be mined by 2040. So that means that Bitcoin might run into some serious issues after 2040. Kadena, on the other hand, their blockchain is designed to reward miners for over 120 years. In 60 years, only 70% of Kadena will be mined. That's a massive difference. Businesses that invest in Kadena mining equipment can operate for centuries, not just another decade. And that leads us into number 4, being the tech sector. Now, because Kadena can be mined for such a long period of time and Kadena is quantum resistant, tech companies who make mining equipment can now start manufacturing Kadena mining equipment and build a business that will last for a century. Talk about longevity. And that leads us into number 5, which is politicians. Who controls the politicians? Big business. Kadena is in its infancy stages, so as of now, this vortex effect is not fully in play, but give it some time. Paul Su, one of the founding members of Kadena Eco, just left Kadena and took a promotion at the World Business of Chicago, where he is now a member of the board of directors. The city of Chicago sees the potential in blockchain and they want to make sure that they are on the forefront of innovation. So what blockchain do you think Paul will be advising the city of Chicago to take a look at? I think we got a pretty good idea. And this leads us to number 6, which is governments. Kadena does everything that Bitcoin does and does it better. Kadena also does everything that Ethereum does and does it better. In reality, you get rid of every other layer 1 blockchain and the entire crypto industry would still thrive. Now, not talking about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the greatest store of value that the world has ever seen, and I don't think it's going anywhere. But I'm talking about smart contract layer 1 blockchains. This means that regulators can drop the ban hammer and regulate every other crypto proof of stake crypto project without hurting innovation. Because Kadena's smart contracts are in human readable code, this makes things 100,000 times more transparent than any other blockchain in the world. Kadena also has the ability to settle every transaction on the New York Stock Exchange today. Yes, you heard that right. Kadena can settle $18.9 billion worth of trades at the end of every day when trading stops. It takes the New York Stock Exchange 3 to 7 days to settle all those trades. That doesn't seem very efficient for a business. Kadena could do that in seconds. That's a huge win for regulators and a huge win for investors. Next up would be number 7, education. I think pretty much everyone watching this video can admit that 99% of what you learned in college was a huge waste of time. Do me a favor, drop a comment below and let me know if your college degree was worth it. Do you think somebody could have turned your college education into a digital course that you could have taken online and got the same level of education? Well, guess what? Kadena NFTs are going to revolutionize education. You can see this firsthand when Kadena rolls out their packed digital course, because Kadena NFTs are so advanced and you can make non-tradable NFTs that can be assigned with permanent names that can never be changed, meaning you can get a degree or certificate as an NFT with your name on it, and that NFT can be stored on the blockchain. When you take a look at Kadena's How to Code and Pack digital course, you're going to be forced to learn the work and you're going to be forced to do the work. In order to get your certificate, you will need to complete every course. After completion, you will receive a certificate Pack Dev NFT, just a college degree. Kadena's blockchain will help high schools, colleges, and universities take their online education to the next level, and you will see more and more online skilled trade courses that teach one specific topic that you can get certified in by taking an online digital course. And that leads us into number 8, which is government as a business. Kadena NFTs are so powerful, and they have integrated Stuart Haber's decentralized identifiers. They make data immutable and traceable for life. That means governments will eventually start to issue driver's licenses, IDs, passports, and much more via the blockchain. This will save governments billions of dollars every year, and that's just one of many ways that governments can use the Kadena blockchain. Another would be a shipping company like the United States Postal Service. You can turn shipping labels into QR codes and store every shipping label on the blockchain. No need to pay to store all that data on private servers. So now let's jump back to our Kadena Vortex and take a look. You can see on this chart that the Kadena blockchain is going to align every incentive that Bitcoin aligns and every incentive that Ethereum might align. Then it's going to take things to a whole new level because Kadena is a blockchain that is designed for the billions. So let's go over to these incentive layers one by one. Number 1, dApps and smart contracts. Number 2, mining. Number 3, energy. Number 4, big tech. Number 5, politicians. Number 6, cities and states. Number 7, governments as a business. Number 8, NFTs. And last but not least is the unknown. The Kadena blockchain is so advanced that 99.9% of what Kadena will be used for hasn't even been invented yet. So drop a comment below and let me know what you think the next incentive that Kadena is going to align. Just imagine how powerful a network would be if it aligned the incentives of over 1 billion people. Therefore, I say that Kadena is going to change every aspect of life as we know it. When networks like Bitcoin started receiving global adoption, no one government could stop them. We saw China try to ban Bitcoin. What happened? The network got even stronger and China looked like idiots. In the United States, we saw states like New York put in place stupid, strict regulations against crypto. What happened? People said screw New York and they left. End result, New York suffered. Peter Schiff, Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, they are some of the greatest investors of all time. But what is one thing everyone will remember about them? How wrong they were about Bitcoin. You see, that is the Vortex effect. Anyone who tries to stop it gets consumed by it. Anyone who tries to oppose it suffers from it. If you are a human and you choose to ignore it, the only person you're doing a disservice to is yourself. This is the network effect. Anytime anyone tries to attack Bitcoin, they are attacking the entire network. It's like smacking a hornet's nest with a baseball bat. Once you swing that bat, you best be prepared for the aftermath that's going to come after it. Michael Saylor being a prime example. Bitcoin was getting attacked by the world governments trying to manipulate the public into believing that Bitcoin miners were bad for the environment. And most people actually believed them. Until Michael Saylor went on a media spree, he got on every major news outlet to defend Bitcoin and educate everyone. Michael Saylor was just one of many public figures running to the defense of Bitcoin. Just like I come running to the defense of Kadena every time I hear somebody is out there spreading BS FUD. If you take a look back at my original Kadena Vortex video and the predictions I made, 95% of them have come true. You guys ready for my next one? Every exchange is going to list Kadena. Every influencer will eventually talk about Kadena, and every crypto media outlet will begin producing content talking about Kadena eventually. And eventually is the key word. It's just a matter of time, but there's a lot more to that story. So if you want to hear why there are only a few crypto influencers who are talking about Kadena, or why I think that crypto exchanges and crypto media outlets will do everything in their power to keep Kadena out of the spotlight, check out my proof of stake blockchains are like centralized pyramid video. It will really blow your mind. Links to that video are down in the description. So if you guys could do me a favor, smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications. I have new whiteboard videos dropping daily. If you want to learn more about making generational wealth or investing in cryptocurrency, click that icon next to the big red arrow and come join me live on my second YouTube channel. Good vibes always, crypto fam.